When people fantasize about moving to the country, there's like this very specific highlight reel that plays in their minds.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
all the wide open spaces, right?
Right. It's the cleaner air, the total absence of traffic noise, the slower pace of life. You're just feeling deeply connected to nature.
Yeah, it's this beautiful, pristine dream.
But what never ever makes it into that fantasy highlight reel is, well, what happens when you flush the toilet?
No, nobody wants to think about that part.
No, they really don't.
Yeah,
But today, we're looking at an article titled Why Rural Homeowners Are Quietly Switching to SEPTIFIX for Monthly Septic Care.
which is a huge topic, actually.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore that hidden, kind of unglamorous reality of rural infrastructure.
Because it's a completely different from living in the city.
Totally different. We're going to examine this massive silent shift in how people manage a vital piece of their homes, moving away from this, like, deeply ingrained psychology of reactive panic to a much more practical biological approach.
Yeah, because that romantic vision of rural independence, it rarely includes the sudden, terrifying gurgle of plumbing backing up into your bathtub.
Oh man, nightmare scenario.
Right. But we are talking about a fundamental shift in homeowner psychology here. We're moving from a highly stressful approach, where you just ignore a buried concrete box and hope for the best, to actually understanding the underlying ecology of that box.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the start because the source material makes a really stark comparison between city living and country living.
It's night and day.
It is. I mean, when you live in a city or the suburbs, waste management is essentially magic.
You don't even think about it.
Exactly. You wash your hands, you run the dishwasher, you flush a toilet, and the wastewater just vanishes. It flows into this massive, centralized municipal infrastructure managed by teams of engineers.
Yeah, with huge aeration tanks, chemical scrubbers, and, miles and miles of gravity-fed pipes.
Right. You never think about it, but out in the country, you are completely off that grid. The homeowner literally is the municipal utility.
Which is a massive responsibility.
It is. Every single drop of water, every bit of soap, every food scrap ends up in a private tank buried just a few yards from the front door.
And when you become your own utility company, that safety net is just gone. The source points out that rural septic systems face compounding pressures that urban systems simply absorb.
Like what kind of pressures?
Well, out in the country, you're often dealing with larger households or multi-generational living. So you have heavy laundry usage, pushing hundreds of gallons of water into a closed system in a matter of hours.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even think about laundry.
And then there's the issue of well water. Rural properties heavily rely on well water, which is often packed with dissolved minerals.
Oh, like calcium and magnesium, right?
Exactly. And those minerals don't just leave hard water stains on your shower glass.
Mm.
They actively build up inside the plumbing and the septic tank.
Okay, wait, so the hard water actually affects the septic tank?
Yeah, it coats the sludge and makes it harder for the natural processes to break anything down.
That's wild. I was thinking about this while going through our notes, and the best way I can picture it is that a septic tank is essentially a second stomach for the house.
That is actually a really great analogy.
Right. It's this massive, hidden digestive system that has to consume, process, and break down everything you feed it.
And if you feed it garbage, it's going to get sick.
Exactly. But I have to admit, I'm a bit confused by the cultural attitude around this.
How say?
Well, if the second stomach is so absolutely vital to daily life, like your house literally cannot function without it, why is it treated like a total taboo? Nobody talks about their septic system with their neighbors or, brings it up at family gatherings until it's an absolute catastrophe. Why the total silence?
What's fascinating here is the sheer power of the out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality is incredibly strong.
Because it's buried in the yard.
Precisely. Because the system is physically buried under a manicured lawn, human nature dictates that we just ignore it. We lack a daily visual reminder of its condition.
Right, like if you have a leaky roof, you see the water stain on the ceiling every time you sit on the couch.
Exactly. But an intricate biological system buried in the dirt. That isolation breeds a kind of willful ignorance.
I mean, I get that.
Plus, talking about it requires acknowledging the immense, messy responsibility of being the sole operator of a wastewater treatment plant.
Which doesn't really fit the country living fantasy.
No, it doesn't. People just want to enjoy their clean air and open space without thinking about raw sewage.
But ignoring that buried stomach doesn't mean it stops digesting. Or Rather, it stops digesting, and that is exactly when you get the physical
The
symptoms.
symptoms are usually pretty clear, too.
Yeah, the sources outline this historically disastrous pattern of septic care. Step 1 is ignoring the system entirely.
Right.
Step 2 is aggressively hoping it keeps working.
Always a solid plan.
And step 3 is sheer panic when the problems start. And the wild part is, these massive failures do not usually just appear out of thin air.
No, they really don't.
Yeah. There is a whole sequence of early warning signs that build up gradually over months or even years.
And the physical mechanisms behind those warning signs are fascinating. The text highlights red flags like sinks draining just a little bit slower.
Or like a faint, unpleasant odor near a certain part of the yard.
Yes. And then there are the gurgling toilets.
Oh, the gurgling. I read about that.
That gurgling sound isn't just an annoyance, it's literally a matter of physics.
Wait, how so?
Well, when a septic tank is overly full, or the drain field is saturated with unprocessed sludge, the wastewater has nowhere to go. So the methane and hydrogen sulfide gases created by the decomposing waste get trapped.
Oh, wow. So they can't escape through the soil.
Right. When you flush, the incoming water trying to push past those trapped gases, forcing the air back up through the pipes.
So that bubbling you hear is...
That is literally trapped sewage gas fighting its way into your bathroom.
Okay, yuck. I hear that, but I have to bring in some outside perspective here because I really struggle with the human behavior aspect of this.
It can be baffling.
Like, I understand ignoring a slightly slow drain, but we're talking about a yard smelling like literal sewage or a toilet forcefully bubbling gas into a bathroom.
True.
You meticulously change the oil in your car every few thousand miles because a tiny light on the dashboard tells you to. You swap out your HVAC air filters every season.
Right. Preventative maintenance.
At some point, survival instinct has to kick in. I just don't understand how someone ignores a bubbling toilet in a yard that smells like a swamp.
Well, you're underestimating a psychological concept known as the normalization of deviance.
Normalization of deviance. Okay, what's that?
It's a trap mentioned implicitly in the sources, the idea that the system still, quote-unquote, mostly works.
Ah.
When a sink takes an extra 10 seconds to drain, you can still wash your hands.
Mm.
When a toilet bubbles on a Tuesday but flushes perfectly fine on a Wednesday, homeowners convince themselves it was a temporary quirk rather than a systemic failure.
So they just get used to the new normal.
Exactly. Reacting to emergencies is a deeply ingrained human habit. It's incredibly difficult to be proactive when the immediate consequence of doing nothing seems to be nothing.
Until it isn't nothing.
Precisely. And the financial reality of this wait-and-see fallacy is brutal,
Oh, I bet. Plumbers are not cheap.
especially in rural areas. Rural isolation means a remote service call for an emergency pumping truck carries massive travel fees.
Right, they have to drive way out of town.
And if the drain field is ruined because unprocessed sludge overflowed into the soil,
Yeah.
you are not just pumping a tank. You are looking at excavation equipment tearing up your yard and thousands upon thousands of dollars for a total system replacement.
Wow, and when that panic finally sets in, when the toilet bubbles and does not go down, or the shower is suddenly holding an inch of murky water, the homeowner's first instinct is almost always the absolute worst thing they could possibly do.
Oh, it really is.
The typical reaction is to sprint to the cabinet under the sink, grab the most caustic chemical drain cleaner on the market, or just pour a massive gallon jug of pure bleach down the drain.
Just trying to force the pipes clear by brute force.
Exactly.
And that reaction is biologically catastrophic for the system. Harsh chemicals do two really destructive things.
Okay, what's the first one?
Well, they physically degrade older plumbing, sure. But more importantly, they obliterate the delicate biological balance inside the tank.
Because it's not just a holding tank.
Right. The tank is not merely a holding container. It is a living ecosystem.
Right.
The harsh chemicals lyse or completely tear open the cellular membranes of the beneficial microorganisms living in the sludge.
Okay, remember my second stomach analogy from earlier?
Yeah, the digestive system.
Pouring a gallon of bleach down the drain to fix a slow septic pipe is essentially giving your house a severe bleeding ulcer.
That is spot on.
You are completely stripping the stomach lining of the tank. It's like taking a massive dose of strong, broad-spectrum antibiotics to cure a mild stomachache.
Yes, you're nuking the entire environment.
Right. When what your system actually needs is a probiotic. The tank strictly requires those bacteria to actively consume and break down the organic waste, the toilet paper, and the grease.
And if you murder the bacteria, you are just storing solid waste, not treating it.
Exactly.
The underlying biology here really gets to the root of the problem. A standard sealed septic tank is predominantly an anaerobic environment, meaning it lacks oxygen.
Okay.
So anaerobic bacteria are the ones doing the work by default. But here's the critical issue. Anaerobic bacteria are very slow eaters, and as a byproduct of their digestion, they produce those foul-smelling sulfur gases.
Oh, so that is the swamp smell in the yard.
Exactly. Now, when modern households wage a constant unintentional war on their septic tanks, using excessive amounts of antibacterial soaps, heavy laundry detergents, and chemical cleaners.
They're constantly killing off an already slow-moving workforce.
Yes.
So we are suppressing the exact biome we desperately rely on to keep the plumbing functioning.
Over time, the solid waste simply accumulates faster than it can be digested. The sludge layer at the bottom gets thicker, the grease layer at the top gets thicker, and that clear water zone in the middle just vanishes.
That sounds like a ticking time bomb.
It is. You absolutely have to replenish the biology you're destroying, especially if you're running heavy loads of laundry or hosting guests.
Which brings us to the core shift the source material focuses on.
Right.
If pouring chemicals is basically biological warfare, how do you actively restore the tank's biome? And the text points to a product called SEPTIFIX.
Yes, the biological alternative.
And what stands out isn't some complex technological hardware. It's purely biological engineering. It's just a small tablet.
Very simple to use.
You just flush it down the toilet once a month, and once it hits the water in the tank, it effervesces and releases 3 crucial components: oxygen, beneficial bacteria, and natural cleaning agents.
It's specifically designed to work with the ecosystem, not against it.
Right.
And the engineering behind the release of oxygen is the true mechanism of change here.
Why is the oxygen so important?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of wastewater treatment, municipalities use giant aerators to pump oxygen into their sewage because of aerobic bacteria.
Aerobic, meaning they need oxygen.
Exactly. Aerobic bacteria are highly aggressive. They metabolize waste up to 20 times faster than anaerobic bacteria.
Wow, 20 times.
Yes. And crucially, their digestive byproduct is odorless gas, not sulfur.
So no swamp smell.
Right. So by flushing a tablet that releases massive amounts of oxygen alongside dormant aerobic bacteria, you're fundamentally altering the environment of the tank.
You're shifting it from a slow, smelly, anaerobic state to a highly efficient, odorless aerobic state.
You're giving the system the exact biological engine it needs to chew through heavy sludge.
Okay, so the science makes complete sense. We are replacing a slow-dying workforce with a highly energized, oxygen-fueled workforce.
Put simply, yes.
But I'm looking at the mental load here, and I want to push back a little on why this is gaining so much quiet traction.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, is the massive appeal of a simple monthly tablet really about rural homeowners suddenly developing a deep appreciation for the metabolic rates of aerobic versus anaerobic bacteria?
Probably not.
Right. Or is it actually just about exhausted people buying a little bit of mental peace of mind for cheap? Because from the text, SEPTIFIX isn't running aggressive million-dollar television ad campaigns.
This raises an important point. Practicality almost always wins over academic science in rural communities.
Absolutely.
You're entirely right that the appeal is the elimination of background anxiety. To understand this, you really have to look closely at the immense mental load of rural living.
It's a lot of work.
These homeowners aren't just managing a house, they're operating a complex compound. They're responsible for keeping a well pump running and ensuring the water is safe.
They manage heavy generators for when the rural power grid inevitably fails during a winter storm.
Right. They maintain complex heating systems, often involving chopping wood or ordering fuel oil. They're patching long dirt driveways, mending fences, servicing heavy equipment like tractors.
The cognitive burden is just massive.
It really is.
So the absolute last thing they want is a complicated new chore. They do not want to put on rubber gloves, measure out toxic sludgy liquids, mix harsh chemicals, and worry about whether they're ruining their pipes or poisoning their own groundwater.
Exactly the point. When you offer a proactive, set-and-forget routine, something as physically simple as dropping a tablet in a toilet bowl once a month, it stops being a looming, terrifying threat.
It just integrates into standard household maintenance.
Yes. It becomes exactly like replacing the HVAC filter or dumping a bag of salt into the water softener. It's a low-effort, highly consistent, and affordable action that removes one massive item from their mental to-do list.
And the way this information travels is a fascinating sociological element in the text. In a rural area, word of mouth is the ultimate currency.
Oh, completely.
You don't trust a flashy billboard on the highway. You trust the guy living 2 miles down your dirt road.
Because you know your neighbor shares the exact same environmental struggles.
Right. They have the same well water mineral content hardening their pipes. They experience the same torrential rain saturating their soil, and they're dealing with the same local clay or sand in their drain field.
Shared environmental conditions make tier reviews incredibly valid.
That makes total sense.
If your neighbor tells you over the fence, hey, I started flushing this oxygen tablet once a month, my yard stopped smelling like a swamp, and my toilet's actually flush with force again, that recommendation holds infinitely more weight than any marketing campaign.
It spreads organically because it aligns perfectly with rural core values: simplicity, self-reliance, and true practicality.
And what's highly encouraging is observing how homeowners are shifting their timelines.
What do you mean by that?
They're no longer waiting for the devastating backup. They are noticing those minor signs, the slightly slower drain, or an upcoming holiday season where they know the system will be strained by visiting relatives, and they're acting preemptively.
Oh, no.
Many are even dropping a tablet in immediately after a routine pump-out to instantly reestablish a healthy, robust bacterial baseline in the freshly emptied sterile tank.
It's a total paradigm shift. It is the realization that homeownership, especially out in the isolated country, just becomes fundamentally easier and significantly cheaper when your maintenance is proactive rather than reactive.
Definitely.
It applies to your roof, your plumbing, your heating, and yes, the massive hidden digestive system buried in your front yard.
It's the ultimate shift from dread to control.
Yeah.
By actively supporting the underground ecosystem with minimal monthly effort, that persistent, heavy feeling of waiting for the next expensive thing to break simply fades away.
Which is priceless.
Right. For families who intentionally move to the country for peace and quiet, preserving that mental peace is just as vital as preserving the physical plumbing. Understanding the why behind the biology allows for much smarter, less stressful decisions about the how of daily maintenance.
So, to bring it all together for you listening, we have taken a journey from the romanticized, pristine dream of country living right down into the hidden and sometimes incredibly messy infrastructure that actually makes it possible.
We certainly dug deep today.
We did. We've looked at the very real, very expensive dangers of relying on the old wait until it breaks mentality and the normalization of deviance. We explored the invisible biological battle happening underground, where our modern chemical habits continuously destroy the precise bacteria the system relies on to function.
And we've seen the solution.
Yeah, we've seen how replacing chemical warfare with a simple biological once-a-month habit like SEPTIFIX is quietly transforming rural home care purely by offering practical, reliable peace of mind.
It's a game changer for sure.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is the septic system in our own lives?
That's a deep question.
I mean, think about it. I'm talking about that vital underlying system, maybe your cardiovascular health, or a foundational relationship with a partner that we are completely ignoring right now simply because it mostly works today.
Just waiting for the gurgling, so to speak.
What are the faint warning signs in your own life that you are pretending not to notice? And most importantly, what would your equivalent of a simple preventative monthly maintenance routine look like so you don't have to deal with a catastrophic breakdown later?
Something to think about.
Absolutely. Don't wait for the dream to get messy. Keep learning, stay curious, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.